Hey, look, I'm live. Yeah, the technical goblins are messing with me right now. My Wi-Fi connection is not as strong as I would hope right now. So I'll do the best I can. Hi. Now that I've actually got the live stream started, I'm going to hang out just to see if anybody else joins along. I'm going to start off really basic with this one. Like I said, I plan on doing, if not weekly, very close to weekly live streams, making rings, different techniques to use. This time around, I'm going to go super simple for anybody just starting out. So if you don't have all the specialized tools like the carbides and the ring mandrels and all that fun stuff, I'm going to show you ways to make rings without all of it. Most of what I'm going to be using is actually a screwdriver and a spindle gouge. Those are going to be my two main workhorses on this one. You hear that, James? Send 10 Tams. But you can keep the Vegemite. All right, so we've got 3. I was hoping that I was going to be able to have this rigged up in a different way, but it's not playing nice. All right. I'm going to be using Bethlehem olive. And this is a size 9.5 ring core. The wood blank is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches by, I don't know, roughly 3/8 inch thick. It's just a little bit wider than my, where's my camera on this phone? Just a little bit wider than my ring blank. If you have questions, comments, whatever, go ahead and kick them out as I'm going. I'm going to try and, be mindful of them. I had a TV set up as a monitor to mirror my screen with, but for some reason it doesn't want to connect to my Wi-Fi right now, which is what I was just messing with and why I was late. So I'm going to see if I can adjust that Chromecast just a little bit real quick and see if I can get a better signal, because that will make my life a lot easier. So bear with me. It was working last night perfectly. Not a single problem at all. And of course, 15 minutes before I go live, it says, nope, not going to play nice. It happens. Let's see. Yeah, my battery's all right now on my phone. I should be able to do it without being plugged in, maybe. Let's see. All right. So just real quick, because I know I'm going to get the question, hey, how did you make your screwdriver into a scraper to make these rings? Well, it's easy. All you do is you go to a grinder. Hey, look, there's a grinder. And I know that this is going to be the top of where I'm scraping with. So all I did was flatten out the side of that screwdriver just along the side of my grinding wheel. And then once that was flat, this is my rough grindstone. I moved over here to my my actual sharpening, and I flipped it upside down. And I flipped it upside down so that I could get a little bit of a burr on that cutting edge. And then just to be cute, I sharpened up the tip so that I could actually use that as a flat scraper as well. So super expensive ring turning equipment. Old screwdrivers, probably been in my toolbox for 25 years. There's the TV that's not playing nice. I'm gonna flip this around. Come on. All right. Hey, I'm back. All I've done to prepare my ring blank is I ran it on my belt sander for a couple minutes to, well, a couple seconds really, to just scuff up the surface. Yeah, that brick background is actually our shed. There's I don't know, this shed's what, maybe 100 years old, maybe more, and I just converted it to my workshop. It's maybe 20 feet long by 9 feet wide, so it's a little one, but it works. All right, so let's get started. We've got 6 people watching. Like I said, I'm going to use my Bethlehem Olive 9.5 ring core and a screwdriver. I'm going to start by making a hole in my my blank and getting the wood blank to fit the ring core. So I'm going to see if I can flip this around. Hey, look. There's my lathe. Come on, phone, flip. There it is. All right, focus on there. Let's do this. We're going to flip this around a little bit. Yes, everything's a mess. Now, at this point, I can't see the screen because I had to flip it all around. So I will come back to any questions that get asked, if there are any. All right, that's decent there, I guess. All right. I got it. And by it, I mean my mind. I've lost my mind and my spacer. 1/4 inch MDF behind my wood blank. And the reason I do that is because I don't feel like chewing up my chuck as it's spinning with my handy dandy screwdriver here. So I'm going to put this in. Then I'm going to put this in. Make it bigger. There we go. Let's tighten it down. Now I'm going to start with a Forstner bit. And the reason I'm starting with a Forstner bit is because I have it. If you don't have it, you can use any screwdriver that you want just to get started. Or not screwdriver, drill bit. And then, you know, depending on the size of the drill bit you're using, it may just take a little bit longer to hollow it out. And I did slow my lathe speed down a little bit. Oops, sorry about that. That is close enough. My ring core will slide in. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna go all the way through. it. Probably gonna knock the phone again. All right, that's all the way through to the MDF. Now I'm gonna get rid of my tailstock of my Forstner bit. And let's change. I know, that was really annoying, wasn't it? I moved that way fast, sorry. And I'm going to change this angle one more time, a little bit slower. All right, so the fun part is getting this to fit in there without overshooting it. And for this, all I'm going to do is use my little screwdriver, making sure I'm at a good level here for my tool rest. Should be good there. Turn my speed up a bit, and I'm going to start coring this out. Just going to go a little bit at a time. As you see, I've got my tool rest back just far enough where I can get the ring core in there so I don't have to move it every single time I go to test this, because I will be testing it a lot. And you see that dumb little screwdriver works great for this. It's getting close. Normally, I would use a square carbide cutter for this, just because I don't have to sharpen it as often. I'm able to see that it's straight a lot easier. But we're going to do this with a screwdriver today, so let's see what I do. That is almost there. The front's good. I just need to even it out a little bit towards the back. Nope, not quite. All right, it fits. So now that that fits, take this out. I'm going to change camera angles again. Somewhere, I've got a little piece of wax paper. That whole Wi-Fi thing threw me off a little bit, so I'm sorry about that, but we'll get it. All right, I'm going to be using both thin and medium CA. Any questions so far? I know I kind of went quick through that. Now that I'm readjusting and finding things, I can kind of look at my screen and answer questions if you've got any. Found my wax paper. The reason I use this is because, well, the CA doesn't stick to it. And if it does, it peels right off. I don't want to glue stuff to my lathe. So I said I'm going to use thin and medium. The thin, I'm just going to start by running around the inside. And I'm trying to do this and show you. And not get my fingers too covered in CA glue because I don't wear gloves. That's it. Just run the thin CA through there. That way the wood can soak up some of that CA. Kind of stabilizes it a bit. Danny, that is actually Bethlehem olive. And all it is about it's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and it's about 3/8 of an inch thick. It's just a little bit wider than my ring core. Yeah, one thing I found that's real handy when you get CA on your fingers is just get some sawdust on there real quick so you're not gluing yourself to yourself. All right, so that thin CA has had a chance to kind of sit for a second. And all I'm going to do now is run the medium CA around the ring core. Yes, Thana, I know you like to torment me when I'm glued to myself, but that's not what I like doing. Yes, acetone works great for getting CA glue off of your fingers. Ask me how many times I've used it. 0. All right, so that's going to sit for a few minutes and cure. Oh, hi, Christina. All right, I'm going to just real quick activator just to kind of get things moving on this blank. So we're not sitting here all night waiting for this glue to dry. Because that's almost as much fun as watching paint dry, right? All right, while that's curing up a little bit, since I'm not going to be using my fancy mandrels, I'm going to make a mandrel. See if I can get this to focus. Focus! For this, all I'm doing is I'm going to chuck up a piece of, not that, cherry. Only because that's what I've got on hand. You can use just about any wood you want. Ooh, let me not have this go too far. Here we go. I'm going to bring my tailstock back up for a minute, but I am taking the Forstner bit out. And I'm only putting the tailstock on because I don't want to get hit in the face with this blank. Not that it should, but extra support's always better. Just making sure this is tightened. That's good there. I'm going to use my roughing gouge real quick just to kind of bring things in a little, because I don't want to use my spindle gouge for the whole thing here. I'm going to go ahead and throw my face mask on real quick and get this turned down to a rough, and I do mean rough, mandrel shape. Maybe not too rough. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start finding my size for my my ring. I want to make sure that fits. Now, real quick, I'm just going to flip the camera around just so you have an idea. That's what happens when I rough something out. My beard catches most of it. You can see the face mask comes down to about there. So there's that. Covered in shavings. And my phone's covered in shavings too. All right, I'm going to flip that back around. It's enough of me. All right. By eye, I can see this isn't big enough or small enough, but it's close. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit more. And I'm just going to continue to use my roughing gouge since it's out and it works. Yes, we definitely need to do a live together, Christina. That'd be fun. Hey, that's the sound that the lathe makes when the tailstock isn't tight, and it's really annoying. Sorry about that. I shouldn't say the lathe. That's the live center squealing like that. Ooh. Make a step mandrel? I could. Let me find. At one point I had calipers out here. Although I'm right there on that, so we're going to call that good. I'm not going to get too fancy. Let's keep it simple today. James, you don't really have to have a roughing gouge. You and I are both on the same page of if you don't have it, make something that works. Honestly, I could have done the whole thing with the spindle gouge, but I didn't want to resharpen in the middle of this live. So I just used the roughing gouge real quick. So, all right. So that's it. We've got all the tools. We've got the ring blank is glued in. It's set up good enough where it's going to not fly everywhere when we start turning. We've got ourselves a quick mandrel. That took all of what? 3 minutes to make. Probably would have taken less time if I wasn't yakking. Yeah, spindle gouge works too. All right, so I am going to switch this angle a little bit. See if I get you a good angle of what it looks like as I'm turning it down. How's that? Now, this isn't as secure, so you might see me tightening this from time to time, but let's turn this down to round. I'm gonna get my face shield back on. All right, just that quick. I'm down to just about the thickness I want to be at. Just about a millimeter proud of the ring core. So what I'm going to do, because the blank is overhanging the ring core a little bit, is I'm going to come back in with my super fancy ring making tool, my screwdriver. I'm going to line it up to where it's turning on center. Remember, I told you I sharpened up that tip a little bit. So this will work just like a parting tool. You can use a parting tool for this. Again, I usually use my my square carbide. That would work just as well. Use what you have. If you don't have it, make it. All right, so I found the edge of the core with my super screwdriver. So I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. Maybe. Hopefully that's still looking decent. I'm trying to get this set at a certain distance, but it's playing with me. All right, so like I said, I found the edge of my core. You can probably see it better than I can at this point. I'm just going to round over the edges now with my spindle gouge. And that's it. That's my rough shape. I'm ready to sand. Get this zoomed back out. All right. Any questions so far? So to round off your edges evenly, the easiest thing to do is get it rough with your spindle gouge. And then once you've done that, use sandpaper. And that's really the best way to go, because there's so little wood that you're working with at this point that sandpaper is going to take it down pretty quick, and it gives you a lot of control. So try that. You probably already do that. This is the exciting part, right? Sometimes if you just press the sandpaper in and use your finger like a pad, it'll naturally go around that ring fairly evenly, and it'll give you a decent contour there. You see how much material is coming off of there. This is just 220 sandpaper. Yeah, sanding can be very therapeutic. It's monotonous, and you don't have to think too much about it. But it's, in my opinion, it's not fun to watch anybody do it. I'm just going with the grain here real quick. Make sure I remove any scratch marks. I'm not going to get super crazy with the sanding on this. Probably only going to go up to about 1500. Yeah, I'll do 220. Yeah, so olive wood is fairly soft. No, I rarely have any sort of tear out issues. You've heard me on the ring making groups. You've seen me all over the place. Turn fast and turn sharp. If you're coming at your piece with a decent angle and a good sharp tool, you're not going to have much for tear out. All right, that's sanded to 500. Let me go with the grain real quick. That's it, 2000. I'm turning, where am I right now? For most of this project, well, for turning this down, I was spinning about 4,000 RPM. And that's typically where I am with my rings for my shaping, is about 4,000 RPM. All right, so that's done at 500. Let's go to 1,500. Now, I think I'm going to do, what kind of finish am I going to do on this? You guys want to see a shine juice finish, or you want to see a CA finish? It's up to you. Shine juice, okay. I like that vote. Shine juice is super, super simple to make. All it is boiled linseed oil, denatured alcohol, and shellac. And all you do is mix those three things in equal proportions, and it makes one hell of a good friction polish. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean this up with a little bit of denatured alcohol. We'll get to see what it's going to look like a little bit too. I like to use Shine Juice on bowls. It's just easy to do. I don't use it much on rings. It's not super, super durable, but yes, yeah, you can make it with beeswax too. I've got just a little bit left. I need to make some more. This bottle was full not too long ago, and now I'm scraping the bottom. Now to apply this, I'm just going to be using some blue shop towel. Cutting it, well, I say cutting. I'm ripping it into about 4 different pieces, and then I'll probably rip those in half too. That's it. Stack of 8 different blue towels. Nothing fancy. Keep it simple. All I'm doing is getting just a little bit of that Shine Juice, and it's literally like 4 drops for this ring. And I'm just going to turn it by hand. I'm just going to rub it in a little bit. Make sure I'm getting the edge of the wood, both sides. Your favorite part, huh, Christina? Getting the finish on there. All right. So that's set up a little bit, and it literally is just a couple seconds. Then I'm going to take another, well, let me fold this in half a couple more times. And the reason I'm folding this in half a couple more times, for those of you that have not used a friction polish finish, is you're literally using friction to create heat so that you can get the oil, the boiled linseed oil, to start to cure and harden up. Polymerize. Polymerize, that's the word I was looking for. You want to get your linseed oil to polymerize. All right, so I've still got my lathe low for sanding, but I'm going to turn it back up, probably about 2,000 RPM. And all I'm doing is I'm just holding it there. I'm letting it heat up. Start to see a shine coming up on it. I'm going to put, shoot, what, maybe 2 more coats on there. Now, those of you that follow me on all the other social media stuff, you know that I usually use a UV cured resin because it's good and sturdy and it holds up really well. I do have other videos on my YouTube channel about that if you're interested in how I do that. All right, so same thing I did with the last coat. Just took it, rubbed it in a little bit, got another drop, and we're going to spin this, get some more shine on it. And you can put on as many coats of this as you want. It will build. And the shine does come up a little bit more with each coat. My favorite, like I said, it's one of my favorite finishes. I use it on all kinds of things. All right, that's hot. Now it's starting to shine. I'll do one more coat because it's not quite where I want it. And between coats, I'm getting a new piece of paper towel each time. Because once you run it through that friction stage where you're heating everything up, it hardens, and you don't want to work with a hard piece of shellac and boiled linseed oil on something that's shiny, because you're just going to scratch it. So another 2-3 drops here. Rub it in. Another drop. Now we're going to spin it. You're right. Yeah, you can get lines in it from uneven application too. And all I'm doing right now, I just let off on the pressure, and I'm just kind of just buffing it a little bit. Because I don't know if you can see it, but if you look at the ring, you can see a reflection of the paper towel in it. So that tells me it's just about as shiny as I want it to be. For this ring anyways. So that's that. That's a shine juice finish. Super easy. Like I said, I sanded it to 1500. I put, what was that, 3 coats of shine juice on there. Just for good measure, I'm going to go ahead. I've got a chunk of carnauba wax. I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. You could use beeswax, but carnauba is a little bit harder. So it's a little more durable. All I did was just rub that carnauba wax straight on, and I'm going to take some paper towel and use it as a buff. Oh, remember what I said about that that mandrel not being perfect? I'm surprised I've gone this long. That's it. Got a pretty decent shine on it. Let's get rid of this tailstock. And I'm going to flip this camera around. There. Bethlehem olive wood ring. I'll put pictures up on my Facebook and my wood ring makers group. If you're not part of that, look for it on Facebook. It's literally called Wood Ring Makers Group. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Take a look at this with me. I am going to start trying to do this on a regular basis. So if you have ideas on what you'd like for me to do in the future as far as ring making stuff, let me know. I'll do my best to answer everybody's questions. I'm going to start a series of YouTube videos. I'm going to talk about what we talked about today as far as, making your own tools. I'm going to do one about making blanks and what woods to use. Really, you can use anything, but basically I'm going to break it down straight, step by step, and get this YouTube thing going. I see comments popping up. Thanks, James. I I do all right. I do all right. Yes, James Cohen, you can get that olive wood. There's a guy on Facebook, Mike E. Saad, Saad. He's a part of a lot of the different groups, Burls, Blanks, and More, Ringmakers Group, I believe, Wood Ringmakers Group. This particular chunk of olive wood, I think I picked up at Woodcraft. So you'll find that there every once in a while. I like to order from Mike. He sends, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 certificates of authenticity. Oh, good. Friends with him. Definitely order some. I ordered a bunch of ring blanks from him, and he did the COA for every one of those blanks. And he will do as many as you want to have shipped. So those are nice to have along with your finished product too. So that's it. That's all I've got for this one. Any other questions before I go ahead and close up? No, I'll give it a couple seconds because I know the lag's a little bit. I am covered, mostly cherry. That's the way it goes, though. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Again, thank you, everybody. Subscribe. There's going to be a lot more coming on my YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, Wood Ringmakers Group, handmadebybrendan.com. I'm going to have all that linked down at the bottom here in about a half hour, 45 minutes, depending on how long it takes for this to process and for me to get back inside and get my stuff together. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye.